On today's show, the Hawks flop in Orlando in lopsided fashion, and as a result, they now face elimination potentially on Friday at home. We'll get into what went wrong in this spot and much more, and all that's coming up right now.
You are Locked On Hawks, your daily Atlanta Hawks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, friends. Welcome to episode 1953 of the Locked On Hawks podcast. I am your host, Rowland, coming to you late in the night here on a Tuesday evening into Wednesday, and I want to encourage you at the top of the show, as I always do, to make us your first listen each and every day here at Locked On Hawks. Check us out and subscribe to the show anywhere you find your podcast. That includes Apple, Spotify, as well as YouTube. And please do us a favor here at Locked On Hawks and tell your friends about the podcast. We'll be diving in today to what became a 120-95 loss for the Hawks in Orlando. They're not eliminated by any stretch of the imagination. The Hawks did have a winnable game here that we'll talk about in depth. And the result of this loss, though, is that they face elimination now potentially on Friday in a game at home for the 8th seed and a chance to advance again. But they will host either Miami or Chicago. We'll find that out on Wednesday night. But basically, the result of this is that they are now one loss or one bad night, basically, on Friday, or one lucky shooting game for the opponent, whatever it's going to be, away now from the offseason arriving before they actually wanted it to. And this is a frustrating performance from the Hawks in a lot of different ways. A lot went wrong in this spot. Some of it self-inflicted. Some of it was Orlando doing the things very well as well. But big picture, losing this game in lopsided fashion, letting it get away from you in the fourth quarter does not look good on a national stage. Any of that stuff. It was a weird roller coaster of a game for the Hawks. It featured two different collapses, basically, from Atlanta, one in both halves. They rallied in the middle, as they always seem to do this season, but they allowed an 18-2 run in the first half to go down by as many as 22 points in the first half. They got to 14 at halftime. Then it was a 3-point game with the ball near the end of the third quarter. The Hawks were firmly back in this game at that point in time. And then they get a 3 at the end of the third to get into the fourth quarter break, down by only 6 points. Then the fourth quarter was an absolute calamity, honestly. It began with an inexplicable lineup choice that we'll talk about a lot later on in the podcast and spiraled on from there. The Hawks lost an 8-minute period in the fourth quarter by 21 points. It went from down 6 to down by 27 in about 8 minutes. And that obviously is speaking for itself at this point in time. So if you're new to the podcast, what we do, generally speaking, after games is kind of go big picture early on, talk about what actually transpired, my overall takeaways, analysis from the game. In the middle, we'll talk about kind of the more granular observations, the rotation decisions, the lineup stuff, all of that. And at the end of the podcast, I'll kind of go through my player-by-player evaluations from this game. But look, it was not good on either end of the floor for the Hawks in this one. I want to begin with the offense for one reason. For about half the season this year, I repeatedly noted on the podcast that the defense actually was trending well. When they were at full strength with Jalen Johnson and actual backup centers, they actually were ahead of the offense at times defensively this year, and they took a big step forward with Dyson Daniels, et cetera, et cetera. But that was when they actually had Jalen Johnson, and they had size and personnel that was different. So since the All-Star break, they've been kind of back to the older brothers version of the Hawks. They've actually been top 6 in the league in offense for about the last 2 months. And not as bad defensively, but like 21st in the league defensively since the break, which that makes sense given where they have available roster-wise. But they are leaning on their offense. They have to score with this personnel. And I say all that, and also want to acknowledge this. Orlando is great defensively. They are. They're a top-5 defense. They're very, very good. They're physical, all that stuff. But the Hawks scored 0.99 points per possession in this game, a 99 offensive rating. That's not going to get it done. Like, is it impossible to win a game with that number? No, but it's very unlikely that you're ever going to win scoring that little if you're an offense-first team like the Hawks are. And they just couldn't score for large portions of this game, honestly. And it's even crazier when I give you one more stat. Coming into the game, I noted this, and I was not alone in this. If you look at the all kinds of data about the Hawks season and the Magic season and their matchups head-to-head, I noted that the number one area of concern offensively was going to be ball security, actually, turnovers. The Hawks turned the ball over 18 times in this same building a week ago. I was there. It killed them the entire game. They couldn't take care of the ball. The Magic are very, very good at creating turnovers. They're top 5 in the league in that category. The Hawks were 22nd in the league this year in offensive ball security. Like, all that said, like, that was the one area of legitimate concern offensively. And the Hawks only had 8 turnovers in the entire game. If that's all I thought and all I knew about this game was the Hawks had 8 turnovers offensively, you'd be like, man, they're in great shape. And everything else, though, was a disaster, basically, for the Hawks. The biggest thing was poor shot making. And if you want to take some solace moving forward, if you want to find optimism, not everybody does, but if you want to find it, it could be this. Like, I watched this game again before recording the podcast. The shooting did not match the shot quality. The Hawks got better shots than you would expect if you just saw their numbers shooting-wise in this game. But they still weren't playing well. They were just a little bit unlucky, a little bit, bad variance center offensively. They were 4 of 21 from 3. That's 19%. Now, that's not enough attempts. Like, not everyone will understand that or acknowledge that. Like, I get, like, there's a little bit of natural thought when you're not making shots to stop taking them. But the Hawks do not operate that way, nor should they, basically. There's a math game in the NBA. You got to take threes. You got to make threes, but you got to take them. And the Hawks didn't take enough in this game. It actually blows my mind that the Magic took 18 more threes than the Hawks. That can't happen. It just cannot happen. And again, some of that's Orlando's defense, but the Hawks didn't. They were passing up some open looks. They didn't make them, and all that is not good. They also shot 44% on twos. That's a terrible number as well. There were 17 of 35 at the rim in this game. That's a very bad number. It's 5th percentile in accuracy at the rim. They got to the line a lot, 34 attempts, but 15 of those were in the fourth quarter when it was nothing else happening. And by the way, they shot 19% from the field in the fourth quarter. So all that's bad. Obviously, shot making was the number one source of offensive catastrophe in this game. They were okay on the offensive glass. They did enough to be competitive there, but they lost that battle overall, as we'll get into in a second. And look, this is not rocket science, but the Magic are one of the worst shooting teams and one of the worst offensive teams in the league. If you're going to lose a shooting battle to the Magic, like decisively, you're probably going to lose. That's very simple. I get that. And yeah, you want to outshoot every opponent. But there are some opponents in the NBA where you can win on the margins against them. You can win by juicing the possession battle. The Magic are like the opposite of that. The Magic are the extreme example of a team that needs to win the margins to win. And they want to just break even in the shooting battle. And the Hawks instead lost the shooting battle by a lot to Orlando in this game. And look, individually, like Trae had 28 points. He was awesome in the third quarter, but he was not a special game by Trae at all. Like, he was pretty bad in the first half. He had the implosion late in the game to be ejected. I get all that. But basically, I don't think anyone played well on offense. Like, Trae for a little bit, you could say maybe Mo Gay as a play finisher, offensive rebounder at times, played okay offensively, but like everybody else was not their usual offensive player. Like, Ricochet was 2 for 10 from the field. Okongwu was like not awesome, not good, like not terrible, but not good. Dyson was 3 there from the floor, missed some bunnies around the rim. Terrence Mann was 0 for 5. Karis LeVert 3 of 11. Like, no one was good offensively. No one. I mean, again, Trae for about half the game. That was, and maybe Mo Gay. That's the list. So that speaks for itself. But again, kudos to the Magic for defending well. They're great defensively for sure, but the Hawks were awful offensively in this game. Now, defensively, it wasn't any better, to be honest. They had a 1-28 defensive rating in this game against the number 27 offense in the league. Like, and the crazy thing is, just like on offense where they had this crazy stat with the ball security, the Hawks held Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner to 30 combined points on 34 shooting possessions. Their 2 leading scorers were well below average in efficiency, and they combined for 30 points. That's a great thing on its face because they've been killing the Hawks in the 3 previous meetings. They actually averaged 61 points a game between them in the first 3 meetings. But Anthony Black and Cole Anthony had 42 points and hit 7 threes off the bench. And some of that's bad luck, yes. Some of that's like, you don't expect Anthony Black to make all 3 of his threes. Cole Anthony was just like on fire in the second half. Like, I get it. But those guys don't do that all the time, but there was some bad defense, like genuinely bad defense in this game from the Hawks. I think people were overstating this a little bit about how much Orlando dominated the glass in this game, because they actually didn't. They won the glass, but it wasn't like total domination by the numbers, but it was the impact of when they got their offensive rebounds. The Magic got 12 offensive rebounds in the game, which isn't a crazy high number, but they scored 25 second chance points. So they scored more than 2 points per offensive rebound. And that's going to get you killed, obviously. So it was not necessarily getting blown up there. It was the costly nature of those misses and chances to stop possessions that just didn't actually happen. And also the Hawks lean on the turnover creation all year long. They've been awesome in hawking the ball with Dyson, etc. And the Magic had only 10 turnovers in the whole game. And that can't happen either. By the way, Dyson had 0 steals, which never happens. Like, that's, he wasn't alone by any means, but that kept the Hawks out of transition, which is awful for the Hawks offense because then they're placing a set Orlando defense. And Atlanta had 4 fast break points in the entire game. And that's another stat that was rough. So All that said, it was a two-way catastrophe for the Hawks in this game. I thought Quinn Snyder had a very, very rough night. We'll talk about later on. Obviously, again, Trae getting ejected will be a big talking point nationally, and I'm not going to do as much as everybody else will. I understand that. It'll get silly, but you can't do that if you're Trae Young. I definitely get that as well. So there's like stuff to talk about. But overall, the Hawks did not play well enough in this game on either of the floor. And no matter who they play on Friday, I want to say this out loud. If this is the result, if this is the baseline of performance the Hawks gave on Friday, they're going home. Like I think the Hawks should be favored slightly at least to beat either Chicago or Miami in their home building with 2 days rest. But if this is how they play on Friday, they're going to be going home. That's very simple, not even controversial, I'm sure. But they got to play better than this, and I think they will all acknowledge that. Quinn kind of did post game, traded like. They know they got to play better, but it was you can't go in there and play this way. It was not a strong. It was not exactly an invigorating or inspiring effort from the Hawks in this game. All right, more to come on this one, and I have a lot to get to from the rotation decisions, especially to player-by-player evaluations, and more. All that's coming up in just one moment. This show is brought to you by Open Phone. If you run a business, you know that every missed call is money left on the table. Think about it. When was the last time you actually had a service emergency? If the person didn't answer the phone, did you wait? You probably didn't. And that's why you need Open Phone. Open Phone is the #1 business phone system designed to streamline and scale your customer communications all through an app on your phone or on a computer. And with Open Phone, I love actually I don't have to carry 2 phones anymore. I can manage business calls and text from one app, whether I'm actually at my desk or on the go. And the best feature, in my opinion, is the shared inbox. Your team can jump into any conversation without missing a beat at all. And they have AI call transcripts and summaries. They also save you tons of time on follow-ups and ensure you actually never lose track of customer interactions. And Open Phone is offering my listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/lockedonnba. That is OPENPHONE, openphone.com/lockedonnba. And if you're switching over from another service, Open Phone will port your existing numbers over at no extra charge. Open Phone, no missed calls, no missed customers. Did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices, no console required. Just grab your pair controller, subscribe or sign in to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to play. Dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports, College Football 25, to Call of Duty, Black Ops 6, and Avowed, as easily as you stream your favorite shows. It's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. With Fire TV, gaming is affordable and portable. You can play high-quality Xbox games at a fraction of the cost of a console. And if you already have a console, a Fire TV Stick 4K device is more affordable and easier to travel with, allowing you to take your games wherever you plug in. Also, there's endless entertainment with Fire TV, 4K streaming. Watch more than 1.5 million movies and TV episodes from your favorite subscribe services like Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus, Max, and more. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K 2nd Gen, Fire TV Stick 4K Max 1st and 2nd Gen, and Fire TV Cube 3rd Gen. All right, we'll dive into the game flow and how this one got unraveled for the Hawks and my observations along the way. There's a lot to get to here, so be patient with me. Initially in the game, I wanted to at least note this at the top. The Hawks actually changed the way they were defending Orlando from the previous matchup, which, again, was a week ago. They played Orlando 1 week ago in Orlando, same roster, same everything. I was there. Interesting game. It was more competitive than this one, obviously. But in that game, they actually had Okongwu guarding Paolo Banchero the entire game, basically. In this game, it was Mo Gay as the primary guy on Banchero. And there were some mixed results to that, but I think it generally worked out pretty well. Now, there were some times where the Hawks probably overhelped a little bit on Banchero and Wagner and allowed them to kind of be passers, especially Banchero early in the game, and got some good looks for the supporting cast. But the overall numbers were pretty good for the defense. I was curious, and I don't still really know why he played less in this game. Okongwu played just less minutes overall, which was notable to me. They did in that game a week ago. But, they got slowed down offensively in the early going. They actually had this grind of a stop mid-quarter. They had 2 points in 3 minutes until they broke out of that a little bit. But the Magic had the first big run by either team, and it was a doozy. It was basically a back-and-forth, closely competitive game for the first, 8 minutes, 7 minutes. And then it was an 18-2 run by the Magic to go basically at the end of the quarter. So the Hawks missed 13 of their 14 shots at the end of the first quarter. Plus, they were 0-2 at the line. So they basically had 15, 16 possessions, and they had 2 points. And speaks for itself. Obviously, that's kind of what I get into some of the variance there of just that's not going to happen to you very often, no matter who's guarding you. But that was obviously tough. And here's why I get into the rotation stuff a little bit. So I'm going through my notes now in real time that happened during the game. This happened again later, but it was inexplicable to me that at any point in this game, not an elimination game, I get that, but it's a playoff game with real stakes. The Hawks played 2 different stints with the combination of George Niang and Don Barlow together. Now, if you are a recurring listener, you will know this. That lineup did not work at all in the last month plus of the season. It's not, and by the way, it's not a thing that I don't mind either one of those guys. I think George Niang has a role. I think Don Barlow is overstretched in his current place. But anyway, there was just no reason for me that the Hawks would have gotten there at any point. In the first half, I am sure the explanation would be quote-unquote foul trouble because Mo Gay got 2 fouls and Okongwu had already needed to come out of the game for a break. And that's probably why it happened. But I don't believe that. I am someone who thinks that coaches, and this includes Quinn, not just Quinn, but most coaches, are too concerned with foul trouble, quote-unquote foul trouble. And I think in a playoff game, you cannot play that lineup willingly. And the Hawks willingly did that twice in this one. We'll come back to it in a second, but the Hawks were minus 11 in the game with that lineup on the floor of Niang and Barlow, and that was tough. Now, while I'm here in the rotation stuff, Atlanta ended up playing 10 guys in the game. But I think the plan coming in was to play 8 guys. Because if you watch the way this game unfolded in the first half, V. Krejci was a DNP in the first half. The plan was to not play V, I think, in this game. And then I think initially, I might be wrong about this, the plan seemed to be to not play Barlow either. But then Gay got in foul trouble. So if they had done that, it would have been 8 guys. They ended up playing 10, 9 in both halves because Veet played only the second half. Man played only the first half until garbage time. But that was interesting to say the least. The Hawks scored 17 points in the first quarter, though. Just couldn't make a shot again. I thought Trae was brutal in the first quarter. He really was. He wasn't alone, but he was not very good starting the game at all. Offensively, they woke up a little bit in the second quarter. Trae was more aggressive. Rishi had a nice step back 3 off the dribble, but they couldn't get stops all of a sudden. And they were down by 17 points by the middle of the quarter. They were down by 22 pretty late in the second quarter. Okongwu got a 3rd foul. That didn't help things. They at least played Mo at center at that point in time to kind of stabilize a little bit. And the Hawks did, to their credit, not just roll over at that point in time. They got it back to 14 by halftime, which was big, I thought, actually. Mo really helped. Trae Nice actually pushed the ball a little bit, tempo-wise. And they're down 14 points at halftime, despite all of the poor shooting, all that stuff. Then Trae, coming out of halftime, got rocked in the face by Paolo and seemingly helped him. I don't know why that would have helped him, but it did. Also, he got, I thought, jobbed out of a 3-shot foul in the third quarter. But the offense was so much better in the third quarter. It was mostly because of Trae. He just had it going. They scored 8 points. He scored 8 points and drew 4 fouls on the Magic in like 4 minutes. That kicked off a 15-4 run by Atlanta to get that within 6. They also held the Magic to 7 points in 6.5 minutes with that starting group on the floor with Mo and Okongwu together. They did. I thought it was notable, and I think the right choice to not take Trae out of the game. Usually Trae is the first guy that comes out for a short break, but he was obviously in a groove and they left him in the game. That worked out. And then they also ended up skipping Terrence Mann altogether in the second half of the game. Now, unfortunately, the Krejci came in and, look, at halftime or before the first, people were really, really mad that he wasn't playing. I was not surprised he didn't play in the game, only because coaches tend to shorten the rotations in the playoffs, basically. And while Veach shot them all really well this year, he's not done very much else, especially defensively. He's been really a weakness this year, at least in recently. And when Veach came in, he was very bad, I thought, in 3 minutes. Now, to be fair to him, he was ice cold. He hadn't played. It's the third quarter. Usually, you don't debut in the third quarter of a playoff game. So that's not really on him necessarily all the way through. But the combination of Mann and Veach played 17 minutes, and they gave them absolutely nothing. And that obviously hurt to some degree. They wavered a little bit late in the quarter, but then Niang hit a 3 at the buzzer, and the Hawks were within 6 despite shooting 4 of 18 from 3 through 3 quarters. They're within 6 points. They're right in the game, and they held the Magic to 18 points in the third quarter. So then you reset. I genuinely can't believe this happened. Now, I am not someone who is a scream and yell about the coach person, generally speaking. If you listen to the podcast, you will know that. I cannot believe still that the Hawks opened the fourth quarter down 6 with a lineup that had Barlow and Niang together. I cannot believe that happened. Still, I'm in awe. And if you listen to the podcast regularly, you will know this is not how I am aghast by that. I don't get it. And predictably, in some respects, it was an 8-2 run by Orlando in about 90 seconds. And you go from down 6 to down by 12, and it's not over by any means, but that's 6 points that you just gave away. And I didn't understand it at all. Barlow looked overmatched, was bad, defensively in particular. Like Niang, at least gave you some stuff, made some shots, hit 15 points in the game. Barlow just didn't do anything, honestly. He got to the line 4 times. Okay, that's it. But 2 ghastly breakdowns right away. And, the last thing you want to do right there is give Orlando any juice. You have all the juice on your side. You've been playing well, and you come out of a timeout with no foul trouble issues in a playoff game on the road, and you play your worst 2-man combination that you've had by the numbers for a long time. Obviously, I'm not saying Okongwu has to play the whole second half. That's not going to happen. But they had enough juice to play at least Mo or Onyeka at all times in the second half. And if you didn't want to do that, you could have at least tried. Anyway, I'll stop now. That was inexplicable to me, and it's not why they lost the game, but it did not help. By the way, I'll give this note right now. In the game, 48 minutes, the Hawks had a 104 defensive rating with Mo Gay on the court in 26 minutes. That's excellent. In the other 22 minutes with Mo Gay off the court, they had a 152 defensive rating. Yeah. Now that's not all Mo, obviously, but Mo is a good defender, an active defender. And here's the other one. They had a 100 defensive rating with Okongwu and Gay together. And Mo only played 4 minutes of backup center in the whole game. So it was mostly the minutes where they had their 2 guys, and they only have 2 right now who are actual bigs or big-like players that can defend on the whole active roster. Because, again, no Jalen, no Capella, no Nance. You have 2 guys. You have Okongwu and you have Gay. When they played together, the Hawks played great defense. Not just good, great. When any other combination, they got killed. And it's not always that clean, but it actually was that clean in this game. By the time Okongwu comes back in, they're down by 12. They did score back-to-back plays with Trae and Okongwu, so it was back to 8 very briefly in the fourth. But then the Magic got a pair of 3-point plays at the rim, and you're down by 15 points again with 8 minutes to go. And from that point forward, you got to be perfect to win. Now, it's not over, but you got to be perfect. And the Hawks were definitely not. Right after that, when you got to score every possession, basically, Dyson and Karis LeVert both missed very makeable shots in the lane. Mo missed a free throw. Trae missed a 3. And Orlando made, to their credit, 4 consecutive jumpers, including 3 consecutive threes by not great shooters. And, that's where you get in the variance game. Would the Hawks have won? No, I don't think they wouldn't have won. But the Hawks was losing this game by 20 plus was because Orlando just decided to get hot right then and right there. That end of the game. Now, only thing to add at the end of the game is that, yes, Trae gets ejected. The pull report was a bit odd. Apparently, his first technical foul was attributed to him, quote, throwing the ball at the official. If you watch the play, he makes a shot, Trae does, gets the ball out of the rim, and does what everybody does and just tosses the ball to the official. And that was a technical foul. Okay. And then from there, I thought Trae, and he already admitted this, so it's not like it's me picking on him. You can't do that. Trae melted down and got ejected. You cannot do that as the leader of the team. You can't do that. Can't do it. Not explicable. He wouldn't want anybody to say that, to defend that. He already apologized to the team, apologized to Quinn, said it from podium. So it's not like I'm picking on him. You can't do that. That's not even a hot take. Can't do that there. The first one was bizarre still, technical foul wise, but you can't implode there. And obviously that happened. So the game was already over. It wasn't going to change anything. People ask me if he gets technical foul points. That resets for the postseason. So the only way Trae would not play Friday is if he got suspended separately by the league. And I don't think that's going to happen if I had to guess. So I think that'll be fine. But that was a bad moment. And it was kind of fitting for this game. Trae was probably the only person that had any juice offensively for the majority of the night. But he wasn't very good. Defensively in particular, he was not very good in this game. And then you blow up at the end of the game, and it's man, that's just adding insult to injury at the end. So long story short, the Hawks had one good quarter. One. And yeah, they played pretty well for the back half of the second quarter. So if you want to say they had a good, 16-minute period, I'll give you that. End of the first half and the third quarter. First quarter, terrible. Fourth quarter terrible, and you can't give up that. Like, look, they lost 2 quarters of this game by 34 points. You're going to lose. It doesn't matter what you do in the other 2 quarters, basically. So I'll stop there, and I'll talk about the individual player stuff in a second, plus a brief reminder of what's to come for the Hawks, and all that's coming up in just one moment. This issue is brought to you by SKIMS. When I found out SKIMS is actually going to be making underwear for men, I was really intrigued. I've heard a lot about their quality from friends and family. I had to give it a try myself. Let me tell you, it's definitely living up to the hype. People in my life have had issues with underwear when it comes to fit or comfort, just finding the right style for what they want and what they need. SKIMS changes all that. Their men's line offers something for everyone, from boxer briefs to classic briefs, all designed with the perfect balance of comfort and style for you. For example, they have the stretch 5-inch boxer briefs. They have rave reviews. They are perfect for an active lifestyle. They move with you and never lose their shape, and they stay in place all day long. Whether you're working out or just running errands or whatever you're doing, they're the most comfortable and reliable underwear available anywhere for you. Plus, the lightweight material feels amazing in every situation. And you can shop SKIMS Men's right now at skims.com/lockedonnba and at SKIMS stores as well. Also, let them know that we sent you to them. As you place your order, select podcast in the survey and select our show in the menu that drops down below and follows that. One more time, the place to go is skims.com/lockedonnba. All right, into the player-by-player evaluations on this podcast, and a lot of it was not going to be great. So we'll get into what happened here. The 10 guys who appeared: Vit Krejci, 7 minutes, did not have a stat other than a turnover. I defended this a little bit already. Vit was really bad, I thought, but the only thing I'll say is that it's not typical to have a guy have to be coming in ice cold in the third quarter of a playoff game, but I thought he was overmatched and defensively was woeful in his brief period of time. So, I'll be interested to see how they handle that spot on Friday. I thought the plan was clearly to not play Vit in this game. They went away from him and went with man. And I pointed this out. I'll say it again now. People were, for some reason, I get it because they're both shooters, I suppose. People were kind of doing this equivalence between Niang minutes and not playing Vit. They're not really competing for time. Niang is playing power forward. And I know he's not 6'10", but he's a power forward in the league. And he and Vit are not playing the same minutes. If you want Vit to play, he's going to play over Terrence Mann or Karis LeVert. And Karis LeVert's going to play. That's just what it is. And he should. But if you want Krejci minutes in a playoff scenario, he's going to have to beat out Terrence Mann. And that's what we saw in the second half. We'll see if they play both of those guys or one of those guys on Friday, but that's what's going to happen here. Speaking of Terrence Mann, Mann had a rough one, I thought. 10 minutes, 2 points, 0-5 from the floor, minus 13. Some of that was garbage time, but most of that was the first half, and it did not go well. I think Mann has struggled a lot this year since arriving in Atlanta, and I think defensively he's underwhelmed. I wouldn't have minded trying Vit in the first half, but it's not, I think Mann is narrowly better defensively. Vit's a better shooter, and Mann's got more juice inside the arc. So it's like, what are you trying to do? I think Mann is overstretched as a primary defender, but is probably a better number 2 defender. Vit's got, he knows where to be, but he's not physical enough. So anyway, not great options there. But I think if you want more shooting, you go with Vit. If that's not your primary, that's not your primary goal, you go with Mann. But both those guys were not good in this game. That definitely hurt them. Karis LeVert had a rough game for sure. I think he is at a different level of trust and role with the team, so he's not going to not play moving forward. But LeVert had 7 points, 25 minutes. He was 3 of 11 from the floor. He had 6 rebounds, 3 assists. I was fine there, but 4 fouls as well. Fouled too much. Minus 26 in the game. I think Karis would certainly admit he was not very good in this game. Was not his best work. And the Hawks, it was going to be hard for the Hawks to win this one with the way that he played, along with the Mann Krejci spot and with Ricochet not playing that well either. Speaking of Niang, 15 points, actually second most on the team. He took 11 shots. He missed 4, actually missed 1 of 4 from 3-point range, but was 4 of 7 from 2. 3 rebounds. I think defensively it was rough. But if he's playing with Okongwu or Gay, it looks okay. If he's playing with Barlow, it's just untenable. And Don Barlow, 6 points, 3 rebounds in 12 minutes. Minus 11 in his minutes, all with Niang. And to be fair to Dom, putting him next to Niang in a playoff game, it's not going to work. But I think that Barlow was also he was out of his depth in this one, for sure. Just that's what it was. To the starters. Ricochet, 7 points, 1 of 5 on 2s, 1 of 5 on 3s, 3 rebounds, minus 15. I thought Ricochet was not terrible, just didn't give him a lot as a play finisher in this game. He kind of needed to because nobody made shots, but it's hard for him to not make shots. I thought he probably should have played, if anything, more than he did, but not because he was so great. It was because he was just better than honestly, would the Hawks have been in better shape in this game if they had just given the 13 more competitive minutes that they got from Mann or Krejci and given most of those to Zach? Yeah, they would have been better off, even if he had been maybe tired by the end. Mo Gay was a bright spot. 26 points, 12 points, 26 minutes, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, and a block for Mo. I mentioned before, but the defense was just pretty good when he was on the floor, and it was not good when he was off the floor. And again, that's not all on him, but the Gay Okongwu minutes did work. And I know this during the game, Mo Gay is not some savior player. He's not some established star player. He's not that. But he's clearly someone that has a skill set that they have to utilize right now. His size defensively and his offensive rebounding, all those things are very, very helpful for this team, and they're limited elsewhere. He's got to play this many minutes or more, and he should have played more in this game. He just should have. The foul trouble stuff is whatever it was. Okongwu, 11 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists for Onyeka. He was 4 of 8 on 2s, 1 of 2 from 3. I guess I do understand it. I don't agree with it. I think people mostly that don't watch every Hawks game, if I had to guess, decided to do the Okongwu's too short to play center routine because of this game, which there's no way you can watch the Hawks the last 3 months and say that. Although I shouldn't say that either because I've been dealing with people that think that you have to be 7 feet tall to play center in the NBA since Al Horford in 2005, 6. So I guess it'll never go away. But Okongwu was not the problem in this game. He wasn't great by any means. I will just remind people that he had 30 and 14 a week ago in the same building against the same opponent. So he's not unable to play well against his team. He didn't play great in this game. He was not the problem by a long shot in this one, by a long shot. And while he was not a good rebounder early in his career, and I said that a lot in this podcast, this year, it hasn't been a problem at all. He has been a good individual rebounder this year, and the team, and crucially, the team has actually been just fine rebounding the ball with him on the court. So, I get the hot take cycle has to spin in the one-game scenario, and it's he's too short. Cool. But no, he was fine. He was not good in this game, but he was not bad either. Dyson Daniels, interesting game, 7 points, 12 rebounds to lead the team, actually. 7 assists to lead the team as well, 2 blocks. But offensively, as a play finisher, was a little bit rough. He's got to shoot. Dyson, we're back in the Dyson does not want to shoot range recently. His attempts are way down as a shooter. In fact, he's not made a 3 in 2 weeks almost at this point in time. He is 0 for his last 7 over the last 4 games. He's got to let it fly. That's got to happen. He did some other good stuff. I thought he did a good job on Franz. People were being funny about why isn't he guarding Cole Anthony? Well, Cole Anthony's a backup guard. He can't guard everybody, guys. They're putting on a star player. Franz Wagner is a star player, and that makes sense. And he did a good job on Franz Wagner. So I don't know what you're mad at Dyson for, but that was weird. But I thought Dyson was fine. Just needs to be more aggressive offensively. And then Trae, a mixed bag of a game for sure. 28 points to lead the team comfortably. He was 7 of 16 on 2s, 1 of 5 from 3, got to the line 12 times, 6 assists, 2 turnovers. All that looks fine. I thought the first quarter he was terrible. In the fourth quarter, he was fine until he got ejected mostly. But I'll say this. Trae's defense was not good enough in this game. Now, there's a scale here. Trae's never going to be a great defender. He's not Gary Payton. We understand that. But I have said this the last couple of years. Trae has gotten better, and people haven't really noticed it. Tonight was a lot like old Trae. He was not competitive enough defensively. He was not active enough defensively. And there is a minimum he has to meet. He didn't meet it. So there's that. He did single-handedly, honestly, juice the offense to the point in the third quarter where they were actually able to get back in the game. He was really awesome for about a quarter and a half. But between the defense, between the late meltdown, he won this one back, I'm sure. And he said that he said as much after the game. And, it's funny as this to say, he was the only guy that scored for the Hawks in this game. He's got to be better too, as they all pretty much have to be better on Friday and beyond. All right, I will get out of here now. But I'll just say this. The Hawks have to play the winner of Bulls Heat on Friday. So the game will be back in Atlanta on Friday night. Tip-off time, TBD, as of me recording this podcast. And the Bulls and the Heat play Wednesday. So if you want to see the opponents, they play each other on Wednesday at 7:30. And I'll have at least one, probably 2 podcasts in between now and that tip-off on Friday in Atlanta. But that's all we know right now. That is, as a reminder, that's an elimination game. If Hawks lose Friday, their season is over. If they win on Friday, they will have a game on Sunday in Cleveland. That'll be game 1 of a 7-game series against the Cavs. So if you want to do this, I would not do this, but if you want to do this, you could say, all right, if the Hawks win on Friday, and that's a big, giant if in a circle, maybe they have a better chance against Cleveland than Boston. I honestly think that they probably do have a better chance to compete against Cleveland than Boston. But you still don't want to lose the 7-8 game. You want to get into the playoffs. For the experience, for all those things, you want to get into the playoffs. So, like, people that were trying to galaxy brain it, like, oh, you should lose this game on purpose, that's crazy to me, like, actually crazy. But now that you have lost, if you want to find a silver lining, again, maybe beyond the shooting variance stuff that I talked about earlier, if you can win on Friday, and that's an if, then you might have a more competitive chance against Cleveland. We'll see. So, more to come on the podcast. I told everyone I wouldn't go super long because it's not what the podcast design is. But we will have more content between now and Friday. If you're a new listener, please go ahead and subscribe to the podcast. I appreciate you doing that. And I promise you we'll have more and then a full breakdown as always after the game on Friday night. So stay tuned for that. Check us out on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, etc. Ratings, reviews appreciated. Follow us on X/Twitter at Locked On Hawks. Follow me there at BT Rowland. Also follow me on Blue Sky at BT Rowland, and then also on Patreon at patreon.com/BT Rowland. All right, everybody. I appreciate you listening. A not great night for the Hawks, as I understand, but there is more to come, and we'll talk about all of it, good, bad, and ugly, as we always do on the podcast. Thanks for being here, everybody, and we'll see you all next time.